Hello, Chocy Chat. It's episode 143. It's Friday, the 26th of July. And I'm well aware that the opening ceremony is going on in a minute, but we'll press ahead anyway because I saw people will watch this on catch up anyway. But hello, good evening, Chocy Chat crew. How's everybody doing? Guys, loads of people joining in it, so no, obviously gonna watch a little bit of this, watch a little bit of the opening ceremony anyway. But Nettie, how are you? Paul there, Flying Banana. Paul was here yesterday. We had a fantastic day yesterday. Really, really nice. I think, Paul, if you're looking at the weather, kind of glad we did yesterday and not today, right? Stuart there, Blind Chocolatier. How are you? Who else have we got? Billy there, Scottish Chocolates. If everybody didn't see Billy's Olympic rings on his white chocolates, absolutely fabulous. Really, really good as usual. Darth Chocolatier, how are you? Christine Hindle, I haven't spoke to you for a long time. Erin there up in Portland, Chocolate Bomb Indulgence, that's a new name, but welcome. How's everybody doing? Mother Baker's there, Mr. Ron's Bonbons, how you doing, Mo? How you doing, Ron? Who else have we got? Sport needs an engine. Yes. Styling Chocolates, Andrew up in Edinburgh there, so... Billy's saying, I'm done with the opening ceremony, ready for a break. We're trying to watch it there, and it's very, very difficult viewing, okay? And I'll leave that there, right? It's very difficult. It's honking with rain. There's lots of miming, but you know what, hey-ho. Mariba there down in New Zealand. Hello, Alison, how are you? Misty Max, we've got a class tomorrow, haven't we, actually? Who else? So Sassy's joined us. How are you? Lonely Larson there in Denmark as well. Nadia's joined us. Hi Nadia. Paula, Fusion Chocolates. We're all lass. Hello, guy. Everybody's here tonight. Hello, Chocy Chat crew. My apologies for last week. We had intermittent kind of internet. Like it was on off during the day. What was bizarre is that we kind of Friday we get orders that like process through. And it's normally a steady flow, and it's like, God, it's really quiet, it's not a single order. And then later in the evening, we got everything in one go, like absolutely everything in one go. It's like, right, it's going to be a late night. Not complaining, could be the other way, couldn't it? So, but my apologies for last week anyway. So, who else got? AD70 Chocolate there in Sweden. Chocodelic there in Jersey, is Guernsey, not sure. Temper, how are you? We're really good. Actually, what I was going to do tonight, I was going to explain something tonight. Some of you probably already know this trick, those that don't. That's a mould that we shelled yesterday, okay, and it's still got where we capped, okay, where we capped. So the mould's nice and the mould's clean, as in the cavities are nice and clean, but you get chocolate around it, and you get, sometimes you get a little bit messy, sometimes you get little bits of chocolate. This is really to do with the kind of working clean and tidy. If you work on the proviso that if you don't make mess, you won't have to clean up mess. A lot of the mess from chocolate or for shelling normally comes from, I'm going to go back and read some of these in a minute. A lot of the mess that comes from is pouring too much on the mold. So when you're shelling, if you pour too much on, and you start tapping, the only place it can go over the side. So what I do say to a lot of people is just like, if you are pouring manually, just slow down what you're doing and be a bit more measured in it, and then we would swipe off. Like once we've got the shells mold, we get rid of the excess first, so that area's nice and clean. We've got nothing around the edges. Then we can tip everything out. Make your chocolates as normal. When you cap, you always end up with this kind of like funny streak over the top of it. I wouldn't necessarily go ahead and like with all the molds there, I wouldn't necessarily always go ahead and clean the molds, right? And when I say I wouldn't clean the molds, what I wouldn't do is then go take them and wash them up. Like if everything's come out of the mold, right, and there's no, if you've followed all the steps and you've tempered the cocoa butter properly and it's retracted, shrunk properly. When you tip everything out, if the cavities are nice and clean, what I'm going to do is try and avoid touching them. But what we'll do is we'll get this back, and it'll take 30 seconds just to get this clean. But 30 seconds spent at the end after crack out, 30 seconds spent on each mould is it's a lot less time than taking them and washing them up and drying them all and then buffing them all. If there are bits that are left in there, we can deal with that. All I would do, just because I've got this one left, I thought it'd be, ideal for, maybe a lot of people probably know this anyway, but I'm just going to give it a warm, a really, really gentle warm, all right? I'm just going to melt some of that. We're just going to soften that chocolate. I don't want to melt it. I just want to soften it. At the edge of that mould, you can see all that chocolate that was on there. We'll just give it a quick warm, okay? I wouldn't necessarily do it with a heat gun because the heat gun's just too aggressive. If you've got a heat gun, just put it on the low setting, all right? I'm going to try not to touch the inside of those cavities. We've got a bit of blue cloth. All I'm going to do is just really carefully wipe it on there, okay? And we'll get, that's the majority of the chocolate off the top, okay? We can go round all the edges and give that a quick clean, okay? And get all those off. If we have got any that we've wiped in, we can just get a little cotton pad. So this is a mould that we actually used, okay? We just get a little cotton pad and just collect the last of those bits, all right? You do get, this mould, you do get bits that get stuck, all right? But that is a mould that we used. So we sprayed, we shelled, we filled, we capped. That takes no time at all, and that is absolutely brand new. Back to now, if you turn everything out and it's nice and clean, that takes 30 seconds. And you'd be better, certainly when you get to big production, you need the moulds again. Rather than going and washing them up, and I always say wash them if you need to. Wash them if you need to. Polish them if you feel that you need to. If, there's a little bit of chocolate there on the outside, but it's underneath, it's not on the top. Wash them if you need to. Polish and dry them, polish them if you need to. If you don't need to, just give them a warm, give them a buff, and that is back to brand spanking new, okay? If everything has retracted out and that cavity is nice and clean, do not touch it, just leave it as it is. There's a little bit of a myth that you get this layer of cocoa butter in there. It's absolutely not true. There is no cocoa butter left in there at all. If it was tempered, it will retract out. There is nothing left in there. There's no microscopic layer of cocoa butter in there. If there was, you'd be able to see it. Number two, we did a test with litmus paper and a fat enzyme. And there was nothing at all, absolutely zero. So, and that was quite a scientific test of like, is there actually cocoa butter left in it? But it's a nice little trick. It's a nice way of just keeping it clean and tidy. If you make lots of mess, quick warm, quick wipe, give it one of those, and it can go back on your shelf and it's ready to use again. I would just go back in and spray, and I know I would completely do the same thing again. The worst mess really comes from when you put too much chocolate on top of the mould, and then it runs over the side, because that's when it gets on your hands, and it's on the fridge door, then it's in the fridge, and it's everywhere and everything. So yeah, I mean, that was a mould that we used yesterday, and I'll go back on the shelf. And we'll just store that on its side so that all the cavities are facing, protect it from dust, and that's kind of ready to spray again. So let me go back and answer, I think there's some questions, but I'm sure that helps. Let me look. Sorry, give me a second. I've got to go back. I can see Nathan. How are you? No, not Nathan. Jason. Sorry. How are you? Who else? We've got lots of new names here. But hello. Good evening. Give me a second. Give me a second. Let's go to. Levoco Chocolates, hello down there in Weymouth. Thanks you. There's a couple of conversations going on. What's that? I'm going nuts with the waving now. I find I make more mess with dark chocolate. I don't think it matters. If you put too much on the mould, the only place it can go is over the sides, right? So you just got to be a bit more measured with it. I think for people that have got automatic machines, when you have dosing heads, that's a little bit cleaner. When it's a spout, that's kind of quite messy, because you've got to it's very, very difficult to measure how much comes out on that. It takes quite a little bit of practice. But when making packed fruit for your fruit gels, do you use any of you guys use specific bricks or cooked to temperature? What bricks tool do you use? You'd use a refractometer just to measure the sugar, just to make sure content in it, Ron. Rather than the bricks of it, 'cause different fruits, different temperatures, it'll be different thicknesses. There are bricks measure equipment, but it's quite pricey. Just better off getting a refractometer. They're kind of quite reasonably priced, Ron. I think that's the measure that you really want, is that would kind of give you all the information if have you cooked it far enough, right? Chocolate Shells, how are you? Big shout out to Billy and Stuart for some amazing work this week, definitely. Hands-on classes this week. It's been a bit busy for classes this week. Busy for butters, busy for classes, websites, all the other things that are going on. Styling chocolates, Andrew saying, it's my birthday today. Shout out to my fabulous wife who brought me an easy temper. Can't wait to join the Silk Crew. Happy days. Happy birthday, Andrew. Styling chocolates up there in Aberdeen. Easy temper or silk is a game changer. All right, I have no invested interest in or financial gain in, you know, magic temper, easy temper, kadzama, whatever it is that you choose to get. You can with sous vide you can make the silk and you can grate it, but actually, you know, as I did with the class yesterday, we melted to 33. It was a couple of kilos of chocolate. We blended it in with a stick blender, and it's ready. Do you know, we were shelling at 32 and a bit degrees. It is a game changer when you're doing cocoa butter, when you're doing fillings. When we made ganduya yesterday, that was starting to set in front of our eyes, and like we were capping 10 minutes after we'd filled it, right? So. Oil Bakes, thank you for making learning tips and tricks of the craft accessible. You are absolutely welcome. That's the whole idea. If I supply a hotel and they use their own boxes, who is responsible for the ingredients and address? Obviously, I'll put on the boxes. If you made the product, you're responsible for the label. They need to make sure that it's fully displayed. Okay, so I would, if they're taking the product in bulk, you just need to send them the label. I do that with, I call them wholesale. But where, have I got a box in here? I don't have a box in here. Where we send the boxes, when we send the chocolates in bulk, I will put a label in an envelope on top of it, and that's the one that they need to copy, and that's the shelf life, the ingredients, and all the things that go with it. You need to supply the information. They're the ones that have to display it, all right? It doesn't say that you have to, it says you have to provide the information. Nowhere does it say that you have to display it, unless you are doing, unless they're boxed up. So we have direct selling and then pre-packaged selling. If it's pre-packaged, you're responsible for the label because nobody would open it up before the customer consumes it. If they're boxing it up, they're responsible for displaying the label, but you're responsible for telling them what the ingredients are, Stuart. So good call as well if you've got that, because they're nice little orders, that. Nice little orders. When you don't have to box it, when you can send stuff in bulk and you can give them the label, it's kind of, yeah, happy days. I was going to say, that's quite a nice birthday present, Andrew, that, isn't it? That's a like proper birthday present, that, like easy temper. Stuart. Who reads Stuart's comments? There's good comments there. Chocolate Nana, how are you? Kendrick, do I ever make your butters with both titanium dioxide and luster dust, or always separate? The luster dust are a different product to what goes in the butters. The luster dust are a bigger micron. The product that goes into the butters is it's a similar product, but it's a smaller micron. The luster dust is a bit bigger. If I just did the same product, the tub would have to be massive because it's so light. No, don't always do them separate. You know, the silver sparkle in the luster dust is very, very good on its own. There is nothing stopping you putting the luster dust in and then just backing it with the chocolate. You'll kind of get the same effect. It's just a larger particle in the luster dust, that's all. Chocolate bin by Neander, hello. And then the ones with titanium, you know, there's a big mix. I get this question all the time, and we're just in the middle of doing the website at the minute, and where we've categorized everything. You'll be able to search on the butter type, you'll be able to search on the butter ingredient, you'll be able to search with a color swatch and a color reader. You'll be able to match the colors that loosely fit what you're looking for. and then you'll be able to search them titanium free or mica free or whatever. So the new website's just all geared up for being able to search things really, really easily. But we were looking at the ones that were titanium free, and it's actually really, really big list. I did get a message 10 days ago saying I need to do more that are titanium free, but I think the majority are. I think the other thing is that Europe's not my only market. It's one of 7 markets for us in terms of geographical, right? So I can't take away from one and then take away from all at the same time. So we make what we make, and you're free to choose whatever you want to use. Well, I think that's fair to say, isn't it? It's all gone quiet. Everybody's got an eye on the TV, haven't they? Is it still raining? The lustres are great in a mirror glaze for any of you pastry chefs. Yeah. There's I'm waiting on the labels coming back from the pearls. We're going to launch those in. In September. There's a debate on at the minute whether we do the pearls in gold, a really, really well saturated pearl, because you could use those for glazes, and the pearls are really, for anybody that does panning, for anybody that does patisserie work, for anybody that colours their own chocolate, the pearls are ideal for that. We're in conversations of whether we would do the bronze or do the gold in the little pearls, and would chefs find that helpful, because we're going to do in the pearls, we're going to do an orange as well, which has never really kind of been available in the market. So we got multiple things going on at the minute. So yeah, the lustre dusts are fun. We were playing with them yesterday, and the shine. I haven't got the chocolates here at the minute because the girls have got them. The lustre dusts are fun. The lustre dusts are such an easy way to decorate. And I know certainly when I do the hands-on classes and people have never used them before, and we just kind of dab them in, and they're like, "Then what do you do?" I'm like, "Well, that's it." You just dab them in, and that's it. But then you shell, and it comes out really shiny. Like, wow, that was it. It's just fire and forget. It's a really lovely way of. It's a really lovely way of decorating. I think when you can use it to back things with, or you just put it in on its own. It's absolutely outstanding. So I'm going to use the pearls, colour white chocolate green. Absolutely, that's what they're for. Please do gold pearls. Yeah, we'll see. I need to. I mean, obviously, we're going to have to lodge that product as well with regulators. So you know, it shouldn't be a long process, because the other ones have literally just gone through final testing, and we're just waiting on the label integrity test coming back just to make sure that we've nailed everything. There's a lot of legislation on these ones, so. We'll have a look. There's a few people petitioning me to say please, or there's certainly the people that tested them. There's about 25 chefs that tested the product, and mostly, not necessarily all chocolatiers. A lot of them were like pastry professionals who do big volume, and the feedback's been really, really positive. But some of those are actually the ones that come back and go, please do a gold one, right? So that they can do that, I guess, into white chocolate or for glazes, right? But I don't know. You make a product. You know, I had 5 colours when we started, and you just kind of never know where it's going to go. And it's no different to you guys that are making chocolate, right? You know, you started off with 5 flavours or 4 flavours, and it came 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 flavours, and then you build up this repertoire of all the things that you can do. And now you have flavours that you do seasonally. So these are kind of winter, spring ones. These are summer going into autumn ones. I think that's a fun bit of business, right? You just got to keep thinking. It just doesn't stop. It absolutely does not stop. I don't know what that is, Paula. Chocodilic. See your message earlier. I don't know what that is. Erin, I love the lustres when working with the kids making treats themselves. Simple, and they're so satisfied and proud of their finished product. They are striking. It's kind of one of those things that, like I said, we do the hands-on class, and a lot of people seem to think that they need to back them, and it's like, no, we just dab them in there, either behind a design or instead of a design. Show a chocolate, right? It's worth, what I would say though is like the heavy ones, so the silver and the gold, it is worth dabbing it in and just like tapping any excess out, because you can get little bubbles form, and it looks like you've got bubbles in the chocolate, but it's not. It's actually the luster dust where it's bulked up when you pour the chocolate in, and some of it slides together. So happy days. There's a couple of questions here. What's the best way to use fruit puree in a ganache? The water content makes these fillings expire much faster in my experience, but I've no idea how. That's the challenge with ganaches, right? So you can use the purees, but to extend the shelf life, you're going to have to add different sugars in there, whether that's glucose, whether that's inverted sugar, whether that's a fructose or a dextrose or a sorbitol to really, really bind it up. But the problem is the amount of liquid to chocolate. And if you think about, say, a milk chocolate ganache, we've got 2 parts liquid to, 1 part chocolate maybe. We're going to have to put a lot of sugar in there to bind up the fruit water, but then we drop down in the flavour. I think you'd be better off doing a fruit caramel. I think you'd be better off doing a fruit caramel rather than a ganache with fruit purees. Or you're better off doing like a pâte de fruit gel, so it's really, really intense, and you can fill half the mould and then just put a ganache on top of it. But we get a lot of chocolates here. These are all the chocolates that I've got to taste and test this weekend. I had passion fruit in a milk chocolate, and it was so heavily bound up with those other things, and this was the task, and this was the question, and it was like, how can I get the passion fruit flavour really, really high but still keep the shelf life? It's like, well, the answer is that you can't really. Acidity will bring it up, but then you're using a different acid to the one that's in the actual fruit puree. So, and then passion fruit's really watery, right? It's one of the most watery. It's not even a puree, is it? It's literally a liquid. So, don't know. I think you'd be, Remy, I think you'd be better looking at a fruit caramel or looking at a fruit gel, and then making a ganache that sits on top of it that hasn't got the fruit puree in it, and at least then you've got 2 defined layers, one highly intense fruit puree as a gel form, and then a ganache that will soften it when you eat it, right? That would be my route to go. I've tried lots of fruit ganaches. Works well with white chocolate, but as soon as you get into the milk, or dare I say dark, I wouldn't put fruits with dark chocolate, but like the flavour just disappears, it's gone, and the customers sat there going, where's the menu card? Can I just have a read again to see what this is? Jason saying, did the chocolate demo for a church youth group this week. Loads of fun. It's so nice doing chocolate demos, especially when you get youngsters involved, and you don't need to make it complicated. We do lots with the scouts and guides and schools and different events and bits and pieces, and they don't know where chocolate comes from. You show them a pod and they've no idea what it is. Like, what's this? Like, no idea at all. They truly get excited, and then you give them back to the parents and they're off their face with sugar, right? Which is always good, isn't it? So, love the luster dust, working my way through them. Happy days. Does adding an alcohol, reduced or not, to a caramel when adding butter or chocolate affect the shelf life? No, it won't, because of the nature of that alcohol. Like nothing will grow in it. So what it will do is change that fluidity. So you'd need to add more. You would need to add more chocolate or more fat or more cocoa butter to take that into account. It won't. There is free water. You looked at 46. Let's say a 50% alcohol. You're doing a spirit. A 50% alcohol, you've essentially got 50% water, but that would all bind in, and the alcohol would drive off any kind of bacterial growth or anything like that because of the alkaline nature of it, right? So I wouldn't put a huge amount. If you're using spirits, you can kind of put it in neat. If you're using fortified wines, you'd need to reduce it down to get that concentration of flavour. I mean, this is my dislike of champagne used in a ganache. You'd have to boil it because it's so watery, and it's they're normally like 21-22%. You'd have to boil all the water off to get the intensity of the flavour, but the actual flavour's gone, because the nice thing about champagne is the bubbles, right? So, not that I drink alcohol, but I'm familiar with it, like coming from the restaurant world. And the hot world, like we put all this champagne into stuff and all the bubbles are gone, and it's like, well, it just tastes like wine, and nobody could tell it was champagne, right? So Yeah, splosh it in neat. I think that's what we used to do back in the days. You know, if we really wanted to, if I go back 25 years, if we just wanted to improve the shelf life, it's like add an extra splosh or something, which is not particularly scientific, is it? We know a bit more about what's going on than we did 25 years ago, I'll tell you that much so. My earlier question was about working out profit. Can you explain again? Cost times 4 ingredients and packaging. The best thing to look at is the thing that I put on the Chocy Chat page with the cost, because I actually did an actual cost of a box of 12 bonbons. Included the shell, included the cap, included the recipe for the caramel, and took into account the packaging. You wouldn't there's a lot of people get this wrong. What they'll do is they'll do their costs, they'll add the packaging in, and they'll times that by 4, but you're not making money on packaging, it's just an addition, right? So you would do your costs of your chocolate and then times that by 4 and then add on your packaging, right? Otherwise you're going to find your box of 12, instead of it kind of being around the like kind of 18-20 pound mark, suddenly it's 26 and you price yourself out the market because you're trying to make money on your packaging, right? Mr. Harvey's joined. I heard he had a little bit of a play in traffic. Is he there? Is Chris going to come and have a chat? Chris, send me a message. I know you had a little bit of a you stopped in the freeway and had a little bit of a prank. I hope you're okay, mate. I only saw that like half an hour ago. Ariel's there. Hello. Yeah, if you go on the Chocy Chat page, on the Facebook page, I did a full breakdown of like how to do your costs. There's lots of ways of doing it. There's lots of, you know, if you go onto Zero, there's a free, you know, if you Google Zero, it's XERO. If you Google Zero account system and you do the cost calculator, there's a free one, and what you can do is put your costs in, okay, and then your suggested selling price, and it'll tell you what your percentage gross profit would be on it. That's quite a nice way, you know, that's a kind of free resource. You can just go through and just, you know, like I said, put in, you know, working out your cost. If you've got a recipe, you should know what the cost is. If you know what your weights and measures of your moulds and your caps and everything in, it should be really, really straightforward. Whether you times it by 3, times it by 4, it's totally up to you. What I would suggest right now is that you err on the side of caution, because with chocolate prices going up, yes, you need to charge your customers with the price of chocolate going out. You also want to retain your customers. The price of chocolate's going down. The price of cocoa will go down. It's a soft commodity. It will always go down. It probably won't go down to the price as it was. Lots of people are changing brands as a result of the price hikes. There's a couple of brands that just went, you know, before anything even happened, they just walloped it up 30%. Find different brands, find different values. What I would say is, though, it's, you know, it's kind of a bit like a little mini recession. The people that have made it through the last few recessions that we've had are the people that kept hold of their customers and kept their pricing realistic. If you're making 75-80% on your product before the price increase, then it's fair to say that if you're making 65-70 now, probably sit tight and retain your customers. You know, they need to understand that price has gone up. What you don't need to do is just keep passing the costs on, I think, in terms of the business. You've got to sustain some of it. How much profit do you need to make? And I think that's the scenario, right? And we've had that. We've had that with this. We haven't put our prices up at all, not in the slightest. We will sit this out because we will retain the market. We will retain our market share, and I think it's a really, in terms of business policy. How much profit do you, if you're making some profit, how much profit do you need to make, right? So what you need to do is extend your turnover. So you need to go full volume. So you go full volume at reasonable pricing and you get a bit more of the market, right? Whereas if you price yourself out, you might get intermittent spending, right? They're all, you know, everybody's kind of putting their prices up as they do every year, and we're all used to it, right? Everybody is used to the prices going up. You know, the chocolate going up by 30% 30% doesn't mean you put 30% onto your prices of your chocolate. What you've got to do is find a way to manufacture and make your product more efficiently with no wastage by choosing better products, by being very, very considerate about how much you make or what you buy, how much inventory you've got on your shelf. I mean, I'm shocked sometimes when I do visits to people, and you know, they've got two, 3, 4, 5,000 pounds worth of stock on their shelf. That's your profits in your stock take, right? And what, you know, why have you got 25 bottles of something? You know, why have you bought 15 kilos of sugar and that's going to last 6 months? Did you need to do that? And it's not, buying in bulk isn't always the answer either, right? So I think you just got to be really, really careful. I know certainly my life in kitchens, we would look at the chef's stock takes every month, and you'd have to say something, you know, you've turned over 250,000, but you've got 90 grand of stock. Why is that? And in terms of trading days, it's like you got 70 days. You've done a month's trade, but you got 70 days worth of stock. So what we're saying is, if you close today, you could continue making food for another 70 days. If there's a good deal, and I bought some chocolate. There's a good deal. There was a good deal, and I kind of went down and bought a couple 100 kilos worth because it was a good deal and it was the right price. And it was like, right, well, I'll take all of it. So I just emptied the shelf, right? But I will make sure every single gram of that is counted for and not wasted. Obviously, without children nibbling on it, right? Can you make the prices a bit higher so you can't sell less, but make the same amount? Yeah, that's one side of the seesaw, isn't it? I think it's about keeping customer loyalty. If they look nice, they'll buy them. If they taste nice, they'll come back and get more. You know, everywhere is suffering with, you know, the austerity and reining things in, and, you know, do they want to spend it? It's not particularly chocolate season at the minute. People are buying. I think you just got to be wary of your local market and your customers and what are they prepared to pay. If you suddenly wallop up a box of 12 by £5, £6, £7, you might find you get no sales. What does the wastage look on the back end of that? If you made 100 boxes and you don't sell, you know, you only sell 40, what are you going to do with the 60? Because you end up giving them away. It's even worse, isn't it? Right? So, yeah, Daft Chocolate's here, but they always put their prices up. They always put their prices up, and I don't think it's good value. I really don't. I think there's some better chocolates on the market than that brand. I really, really do. So I think you have to shop around. There's so many more smaller producers of chocolate now that are really, really good, and I think you need to, you know, search around for it. Even make your own. Even if you're making your own white chocolate, which is a fairly simple recipe. If you've got a melanger, if you've got a grinder, refiner, making your own white chocolate is easy. You can get it done in a couple of hours, right? It's cocoa butter, milk powder, and sugar. You'll need some liquid lecithin just to help along, but essentially it's a third of each. If you want to make that caramelise, you'll caramelise the sugar, caramelise the milk powder, and make your own kind of version of chocolate gold or blonde chocolate. So there are options to combat the price rises, and we've all been through this. Cream, you know, if I went back a few years ago, cream went absolutely through. The cream and butter went through the roof. You used to get a block of butter for £1, and then suddenly it's £6, right? So we've all been through this before. You just got to be really, really well measured in terms of what it is that you're doing. And do you need to buy calamansi juice? Do you need to buy all these super duper expensive things when the customers don't bloody know what it is anyway, because they see it on the like calamansi, and they'll go and Google it to see that it's right, it's a type of an orange. Brilliant. So you've got to ask yourself whether you need that. Like, can you pick your own fruits? Can you bottle your own fruits? Can you get your own fruits and puree them and freeze them and make the caramels from that? What can you do, right? There is always an answer. It's how tricksy do you want to get? Like, how clever and tricksy do you want to get with your... You can make a straightforward lemon caramel with a little bit of malic acid and some lemon zest in it, and it's better than, I think, any kind of calamansi type preparation, in my own opinion anyway. In terms of eatability, without a doubt. And they know what it is. Lemon caramel. Did I miss a question? There's a few people joined. I love the calamansi, but people here aren't used to it and they were turned off by it. Yeah. Yeah, true story. Sometimes these chefs are paid to promote something, right? So you might find that they got like 100 kilos for free and they're just flogging the recipe and hawking that out, and they're sat back going, well, I've got loads of it, doesn't matter, it doesn't affect me. But when you discover it's like 70, 80 pounds for a kilo block of it, I think you have to seriously question, are you at that level, and have you got that category of customer that can afford that, right? Just because you want to have the trendy thing. Doing the kanafe bars, is a really, really interesting thing, because the pastry is very, very cheap, and it is just a pistachio paste. Very trendy, very tasty, great shelf life, nothing to go wrong. Just make sure you brown that kanafe pastry. They're like little strings. You can buy them frozen in little blocks of like 200 grams. If you go to any kind of, we call them halal shops, but if you find any of the ethnic shops, it is the standard product in Middle Eastern sweets, and you'll find it in the freezers in all of them. Let it defrost, chop it into chunks, fry it in some butter really, really gently until it's browned, drain it, and then fold it into a nut paste, and it's really, really good. So James, if we started to make solid chocolate bars decorated for Christmas, if stored correctly, would they be okay until Christmas? Would they retire? Yeah, they would. If you spray them, and it's, yeah, absolutely. You need to make sure that they're in this temperature, that it's not too humid. But yeah, of course they will. Of course they will. That's standard practice, Paula. Do you know, I'd certainly wait until September. It starts to cool a little bit. But yeah, I'll be getting like solid bars done without a doubt, whether you want to spray them or just do them as solid bars. Even with these type, we've done this before. Where are you? We've done that type of solid bars before, and put 3 in so it's a solid piece of chocolate, right? And that's the implast one, and it's a little bit shallower than the curved one. So we've done that, and then just put bits on the back of it and put 3 of those in. So and we've done it as plain chocolate, and as long as you follow the process and the cooling steps, yeah, it'll be shiny and it'll stay like that. So well tempered is well tempered, well stored is well stored, right? So if you make your own chocolate, will tempering still be the same as for any white chocolate? Ron's, tempering's tempering, regardless of the chocolate. Milk white, dark, ruby, caramelized, eco fruit, every single chip, it's got cocoa butter in. It's the same tempering process regardless. If you've got silk, warm it to 33. I heat to 35 just to make sure everything's melted. And then we'll call it to 33. We'll add the silk, we'll blend that in either electronically with a stick blender or with a whisk. If it's a small amount, we use a spatula. And you process it for a bit. Making your own chocolate, it's got cocoa butter in, you need to temper it, otherwise those crystals are going to go off and do whatever they want. And if you don't temper it, you end up with something that looks a little bit like that. It separates, it splits, and that is like type 1 crystal. I don't have one that was tempered yesterday. Here's something. This melter, I've not used these today. This melter was on yesterday's because I had a hands-on class, right? So we turned it on to, I don't know, sometime in the morning to like 50 degrees. Everything melted, turned it down to 35, and then we tempered everything. We didn't everything that we used, we tempered, okay? The ones that we tempered will pop out. So that one, we then turned the machine off. That one was a tempered one, so that one will drop out. That's really, really thin, that. So that one will drop out and it will shrink, okay? So they all solidified. The ones that I put back in here that were tempered are nice and solid and smooth, okay? This was yesterday. I turned this machine off at probably about 5 o'clock yesterday, early evening. They're still liquid. They're still liquid, and the reason they're still liquid is the cocoa butter, all the beta crystals were melted out of it. And this is why you need to temper it. You like, if I leave them alone, they will still be liquid 24 hours later. If I just cool that cocoa butter ever so slightly over cold water and stir it, and we drive that temperature down quite quickly, it will form those crystal chains, and it will solidify in the mold, or it will solidify and crystallize in that mold. And then the shell and the chocolate, sorry, that layer of cocoa butter and the shell are actually, they're two separate things. But both of them shrink at the same speed and move across together, which is what we call retraction. That's 24 hours old and the cocoa butter is still liquid, and it's not being, it's not being hugely hot here today. It was 21, 22, but not in this room. It was kind of steady 18, 19 degrees today here. Still liquid 24 hours later. If you spray a mould, this is like the post I did earlier in the week. If you spray a mould and after 5 minutes it's not dry, then I would suggest it wasn't tempered. Simple as that. So, but yeah, white chocolate, milk chocolate, dark chocolate, all tempers the same thing. You are trying to control the cocoa butter that's in it. If you've got a compound chocolate with no cocoa butter in it, there is absolutely 0 point in trying to temper it. There is nothing in there to temper at all. Real last, not chocolate related. Is anyone thinking this Olympic opening ceremony is very odd? I'm not going to lie, and I know this isn't chocolate related, but I just looked at a load of boats floating down. There's clowns dancing on in the rain. All their makeup's run off, and it just looks really dull. Not particularly inspiring. Don't know. It is odd. Yeah, Cali. It seems a bit last minute. It seems a bit done and last minute. I know all the dancers went on strike, so it might be that they've had to hire in some at the last minute. It's like, right, who wants to dance on a stage? Yeah, me. Right, go on. I hope that's not the case. Just ordered my boxes in advance for Christmas. When I show you this, I got sent these. This is Caspia, who are in London. Aren't they the most? These are the most beautiful. What I did do a video. I tell you what, I'm going to give him a shout out because he's a student. They're shinier with this bit off, and I don't know how to describe that because when I showed them to Rania, I'd already taken off this. And Rania said, "Can you take the thing off?" I'm like, "It is off." She went, No, take the plastic thing off the top." I'm like, no, it is. And she's like, "Why are they shinier without the plastic?" Anyway, yeah, I just thought I'd show you this. Lots of people said to me, "Where did they get the packaging?" I don't know. I don't ask that question. I wouldn't ask that question. Not my business, but I'm going to eat the chocolates because I like them. And then also, I've got, this is the Flying Banana who came up from Australia. These travelled all the way from Australia. How cute are those? And the shine on those, they are so shiny and vibrant, and those are absolutely mad considering that they've come all the way from, they've travelled in that box all the way from Australia, and he kind of hand delivered them yesterday. It's like, wow. There's capping's great, the shine's great, the shell strength, all of it's really, really lovely. So, and nice flavours as well. So, what's the secret to get shiny colour? There's no secret. It's steps. Good cocoa butter, good quality cocoa butter, good quality colours, tempered properly. So drive the temperature down so that we form those right crystals. We paint, we leave them to dry. We temper the chocolate by making sure we got beta crystals in the chocolate. We pour it at the right temperature. We make sure we keep control of that time period of 10 minutes from shelling. You don't ever want to. I answered this question this week. I'm not going to name who it was, but they were told by somebody else, shell the chocolate and scrape it, and when it's still wet, to put it in the fridge, which they did. And it wasn't this type mould, it was this type mould. And then every single one cracked around the edge because you can't put wet chocolate into a fridge. It has to go through that dull stage and it needs to start slowly crystallizing. Then we put it into the fridge and drive the temperature down. If you put wet chocolate into the fridge, first thing, it's open pored, so it's going to suck up a load of moisture. You'll probably end up with fat bloom as opposed to the kind of normal like sugar. You'll end up with sugar bloom because that cold will pull the sugar up to the surface. And there is no coming back from that one. And then also, because it's going to cool too quickly, they end up cracking because the top cools down first and then the bottom doesn't, and then they kind of pull apart. And when they went to turn them out, what they ended up with is a load of shells at half and then the tops all stuck in here. I answer a lot of questions during the week. We literally have become the 6th emergency service for some chocolatiers. If I get a chance and I'm not super busy, I will make time to try and answer them at some point during that kind of day or 2 days. There is no secret to the shine. There's no secrets. There's no stupid little things. You have to be facing north. There's no silly little things. But we need to adhere to the science of it. And the science is, we know what temperature crystals form. We know what temperature they melt. We've got a working, we've got a working condition of from 33.8 down to 26 degrees, 26.4. We need to take care of all those steps. You can polish the moulds all you want. That's going to give you shiny chocolate. It's just going to give you nice, clean moulds. You can temper the cocoa butter. When you warm it back up, you damage the beta crystals. You need to know that. The amount of people that message me saying, here's a picture of the shells, here's a picture of the mould, what have I done wrong because of colour in it? And I always say, like, show me. And it's this, I don't know where this came from. I've melted my cocoa butter to 42.2, and then I've cooled it down to 27 and then warmed it back to 32. It ain't chocolate. So you've just followed chocolate tempering. And the reason we warm chocolate back up is at 27 degrees, it's too thick. So we have to warm it up and change the fluidity. For my brand, and this is on our website, melted is melted. Melt the cocoa butter. There is no level of meltedness. Melted is melted. If it's at 34 degrees and fully melted, then balance it over cold water, stir it till it reaches 26 and use it. If you need to warm it up, every degree that you warm up cocoa butter, you damage 5 or 10% of the cocoa butters. The more aggressive that heat, the more cocoa butter crystals or the beta crystals you damage. So there is no reason to warm it up to 32. I've read this other thing, it's cool it down to 26 and warm it up to 28, 29 just to melt off some of the unwanted crystals. There's no unwanted crystals, because crystals 1, 2, 3 and 4 are fats and sugars that are in chocolate. You're doing coloured cocoa butter. There's no, if you leave it on its own, it will form crystal 1. That's what that is. Pretty nasty and gnarly. And if you cool it down fast, it will form the beta crystal. And when you paint, it will solidify, it will dry, it will crystallize, it will be rock hard, it will chip like it's chalk. Because when they are tempered, like these ones here, they are like concrete. You can't even chisel that off. If I cut that bottle open and tried to scrape it with a knife, it's just going to shatter and chisel everywhere. That's what you're looking for, this hard shell. And then when we put the chocolate in it, that would melt that layer briefly, not completely. We would then let that chocolate layer go dull, and then both of them will shrink at the same speed, and you will end up with a nice kind of surface area that's shiny. There are no secrets, there are no super duper tricks, there are no, I just showed you how to clean the mould. Don't polish the moulds as much as you want. All you can have is a clean mould. Actually, there's so many other things that you need to do just in that right order, but there's no secrets, that's for sure. I had a customer come into my shop and asked how to take off the coloured cover by tongue, right? Let me scroll back. Yeah, I think they probably are Alga Box. I've seen those before. So, and they left. Fat Dog Chocolates. Hello, I'm gonna send some waves out. Who else got any questions? I don't know where those boxes are. They're not mine. Mo, I've been to that river. Not nice. Not nice at all. Can I make pâte de fruit with peaches like raspberry? Yeah, you can actually. Peach is quite a dull flavour, so you'll need an acidic fruit. When I when I go back in the day, when we used to make pâte de fruits, we would use what was called a buffer. So we might use peach puree, or we might use like pear puree as the bulking ingredient, and then like we would add blackcurrant or passion fruit to it, pineapple to it, so that we got a bulking buffer agent, a buffer volume in there. Peach will, I mean, we've got very different. We've got better quality acids that are available now to bring the flavours forward. Peach is quite a dull flavour in terms of like it's not very acidic. So I would always, you might want to do peach and put some lime in it. You might do peach and put a little bit of orange in it. You might want to just put something a little bit more acidic to just bring out some of the flavour of the peach, or just raise the acidity of it a little bit. I think the challenge, if you do pâte de fruit with peach, which you can, it'll probably set really firm. Peaches on their own are quite healthy water content to them. Not the highest, but not the lowest either. You probably make they'd probably cut really nice. What I would say is, you might want to sand them with sugar, or that drying phase. So once you've cut them, you'd sand them with the sugar and leave them to dry. And you might need to just do that with sugar, and then after 24 hours or 48, whatever you want to do. After that, then do the acidulated sugar, whether you do citric acid. Well, I wouldn't suggest citric acid, I don't like citric acid. But I'd certainly do malic acid, maybe even a little bit of ascorbic acid in the sugar, and then sand them the second time so that you've got a nice kind of crispy layer before you get to the peach, right? So, Melange classes, are they still in person? Yes, they are. Well, they're in person. They're via Zoom, but it's with me. We had this. I'm going to explain this to everybody now, actually. We thought at some point that we would, like, the airbrush class is a video. The airbrush class is very good, and there's a huge amount of information. There's a lot of information in it. And the way we recorded that and the way that we showed that, with apart from the little segment at the end of bloopers, which everybody seems to love, I was getting those messages, I really love that airbrush class, and the end bit was just brilliant. That's the only class that we recorded. We did record the Melange class, but then I like doing it in person, because what I've realised is it's very different to people around the world. Like, the people in Australia have incredible walnuts, incredible hazelnuts, incredible almonds, but very different to what we have, like, kind of Northern Hemisphere. I don't want to put all the classes on as video recorded, and whilst it's much more time for me to do it in person, I prefer to do it in person. I like face-to-face, I like meeting the people, I like talking to them about what their issues are, I like to understand where they are and how I can make the class relevant to them. So they're on Zoom, but we thought we put a lot of them, like the beginner class, I thought I might video record it, but then I think people that have done the classes really value just the one-to-one bit, because it's with me, and they can also get to ask a couple other questions as well that relate to anything that's urgent. So yeah, with the exception of the airbrush class, which will remain as a video, because I just can't get that much information in if I did a one-to-one via Zoom. So the airbrush class is a pre-recorded one, but all the others, they will be scheduled by me, with me on Zoom, because that's what I like doing, and I don't want to go down this corporate slaughterhouse route of sticking everything on a video where you just get to look at it a screen. That's not me. That's not me. I mean, I don't think it really matters how much bigger we get as a business. I would still like to keep that kind of personal touch. I hope that makes sense to everybody. I wouldn't sit here if I didn't value that, I wouldn't sit here on a Friday night at 8:30 and have a chat with everybody. I just pre-record it and do share the video on Friday night. It's not. I know I don't get to see you all, but which reminds me, we need to invite some more people on as well, right? Grange Chocolates. I need to get. I tell you what, I'm gonna give them a shout this week. Dallas, Cocoa Lab in Canada. I need to get Dallas on and have a chat with them, actually. Yes, but they are still available. We've limited how many are available, because I shot myself in the foot the other week. Do you have any books or classes on panning? I'm struggling to find recipes and knowledge in getting coloured glossy shell. Ariel, with the plate, it's a long time since I've done panning. you need to build up the layers slowly, and you need warm and you need cold. We would put untempered chocolate in so it builds up a layer, and then we'd do cold air to set that. To get the shiny shell, you Capol make a product, and there's other types of Canuba wax and shellac and different things. If you sell to a market that can't have alcohol, for like halal, for instance, those waxes are diluted in alcohol, because alcohol breaks down fats, right, as a like decongestant, and then those will go into the pan, and as the alcohol gets driven off, because it would with the warm, the wax coats all those. So you need Capol, which I don't think you can buy in small amounts anymore, because again, like so many things, it's been left in, I think they're like 25 kilo drums, and it's going to last you a few years. You might be able to buy some with, other people, or buy a little bit off somebody else. It's really finding shellac, which is a kind of animal derivative, so it's probably not particularly nice. Capol, Capol, they are a brand from Germany that ship all over the world. There's certainly lots of people that are doing panning. I'd have a chat with the people that do panning. I don't do it, and I haven't done panning for, it's got to be 15 years, and I'm sure things have moved on significantly for that. So we are watching a video from Algeria. I'm still a beginner in chocolate world. Very insightful session. You're absolutely welcome. That's what it's all about. Yeah, Dallas. I'll give Dallas a shout during the week. The one-to-one Zooms are wonderful. I like doing. I like meeting people. I like meeting chocolatiers, and I like meeting people that are at the beginning of their business. And if we can steer them on the right track and give them the good information that's useful and not full of stupid little myths. I've seen, and I certainly in the last 2 years, I've seen so many of you that are in Chocy Chat that have gone from literally home producers to you're in shops, you're in factories, you're in big businesses, absolutely smashing it now, and still come back for the little tips and tricks, right? So, how cool, right? It's lovely. It's lovely for me. It's quite. It's lovely for me to see people go on and achieve, right? Because lots of people helped me in my career. And I was told years ago by somebody that helped me, this is before I got to like the palace, he said, don't ever be so busy that you can't help somebody that's coming up, right? 2 things he said: keep your ego in check, because that will destroy you, and also never be so busy that you can't find time to give back, right? Which is a good lesson. Our statement on our brand is teach, create, inspire. And everything we do needs to take into account 1, if not 2, if not 3 of those words: teach, create, inspire, right? I work slowly and know it's best to cap and fill and shell as soon as each step is ready. How do I work so it can be I've answered this one before, Evelyn. Your fillings are made, your moulds are painted, and then your fillings are made, and then the mechanical part of shelling. So once they're shelled, if the fillings are done, already made, then you just crack on with filling. What you don't want to do is paint the mould, then wait, then shell, then wait, then make the fillings, then wait, then cap. Actually, we do it in a different order. And as the volumes go up, the moulds are painted well in advance. Once we've got the website up and I get back into the chocolate production, I won't have empty moulds on the shelf. They'll be painted, ready to go. And I'll do the designs, and I'll pick the ones that I want, and then decide what fillings they go on them, because I'll do collections. And whether that's 32, 64, 96 boxes doesn't really matter. It's finding the way, the fillings are done before anything else is done. The moulds are painted, actually. It doesn't matter how slow you are, you can't speed up the mechanical process of shelling. If you can only shell 6 moulds an hour, once they have retracted, you're filling them, and then you'll get on with the next lot of shells, right? So I find panning quite relaxing form of making chocolates. No tempering, no strict temperatures, good tunes in the back. Panning is good fun, and you get good volume, right? A little bit frustrating at the beginning once you work out that you're using untempered chocolate and too much chocolate in, and you end up with this giant Malteser flowing around. and if you don't put enough chocolate in, the layers don't build up quick enough. So it's like you put the heat on there to melt it down again, stop them sliding, get them tumbling again. It's good fun. I can always see the commies doing it and just get so angry with it, and then you go and show them, they're like, oh, it's that easy. Nothing's difficult when you understand the steps. Why, right? So many amazing people in the chocolate business, also generous with their time and knowledge. Yeah, it's a lovely community, right? Thank you for always being available to help. You're welcome. I get hundreds of messages. I try and answer all of them. Most of the people that have done one-to-ones with me or classes, I will get to those first. For anybody that's done the one-to-one, anybody that's done the class with me here, the hands-on class, they're the ones we've always said to them, when you come do the hands-on class, you will be a priority in terms of us helping you start your business. Rania will take those calls, whether it's websites, all of those bits. So there's a follow-on to the hands-on class as well. We get hundreds of messages. Sometimes I have to leave them for a couple of days and then get to them at some point. But at the moment, it's not so bad because there's not that many people doing chocolate, but there are some disasters to do with the heat. The one that I showed the other day, that got a lot of messages. How do I cool that? If my room's warm, how do I cool the mould down? I demonstrated this to somebody yesterday. We put that mould in the fridge, stood up like that for 20 seconds. So we sprayed one at room temperature, and it was about 24, 25 degrees, and it was all mottled, okay? We then put that in the fridge for like 20 seconds. We brought it out and sprayed all of them, and those 4 looked very different to that one. Then once we'd sprayed it, we gave it a wipe, we put that back in the fridge for another 30 seconds, and that layer had set. Then we turned it over and we did those other ones. You don't need to chill the mould for it. We're just going to cool that surface temperature down. But you're spraying cocoa butter and it's liquid, so it doesn't stick. It's slippery, isn't it? So if your mould's too warm, it will just run straight off. If your mould's cooler, it will stick. Do you know? Really straightforward principle. What you don't want to do is up the volume, up the pressure, because the higher the pressure gets, the more you're spraying butter, right? Where do I buy my moulds? Most of my moulds are Implast. Nearly all. I've got a few other brands. Martello. I've got one Chocolate World mould. It's the only one that I own. It's the one with holes in. I think everybody knows about the one with the holes in. It drips everywhere. We were shelling yesterday. We got chocolate all over our toes, which is just not ideal. Yeah, all mine are all Implast in Turkey. All of mine. Right, it is 9:30. I'm going to go and watch what's left of the rain dance. I mean, the Olympics. Butters are available. We're all fully stocked. The classes are all back online. The Melange class is back online. The beginner class is back online. All of those there. We will schedule them. I think I've caught up pretty much now. There's just a couple left to go that I need to schedule over this weekend. Well, as I was going to say, the year's flying by. We've got kind of a little bit of August. You should be starting to get your plans together. What do you want to do in September and October? You should have a good idea of what you want to be doing for Christmas now. What are the volumes? What do you expect to do? What are your designs? Keep writing stuff down. Thinking it in your mind is one thing, but if you want to truly remember it, write it down, have a notebook, and give yourself a good idea. Keep it stupid simple. Don't do 12 average flavours, do 8 amazing ones, right? Don't use 5 colours per cavity, just go with 3. Keep it simple, and then you build on those foundations, all right? But I'll see you all in a week's time. Be nice to people. Tricky world out there at the minute. It's just horrible everywhere, corner of the earth right now, and I think be nice to people, be considerate, especially those closest to you. Have a wonderful week. Enjoy the downtime. Start writing down what you think you should be doing, and as we get nearer to September, I will run some of the cocoa butter classes. We'll run some of the little mini master classes. We'll get everybody ready and topped up so that we can hit the chocolate season with some, good intention. All right. Have an amazing week, everybody. Take care.